Good evening. Welcome to KQ.
Hello, everybody.
I'm Ken.
I'm Kevlon.
And I'm Tito.
We have a special guest on deck today, Tito.
KQ.
$20.
Welcome to Montgomery, where the right wing is running things and the masses are feeling the sting. Yes, indeed. Today, we're going to talk to you about a topic that we are far from experts on. It's the Israeli conflict. This is one of the most dire situations that the world has seen in years and years and years. So we just can't ignore it. We can't comb through all the details. We'd have to go back centuries to BC time. So we're going to skip all the way up to today, if that's fair.
Right. Yep. And pretty much since October the 6th, it's been a mess over there. Hamas just goes off and comes in with the worst terrorist attack they've seen over there in centuries. The Jews over there said since the Holocaust, it's pretty bad. Wow. And so they decided to retaliate. And it's been a nonstop bombardment ever since. And the Palestinian people, not just Hamas, but the Palestinian people over there, the Gazans, I like to call them, they are suffering immensely right now.
Wait a minute. You said they just now starting to retaliate since the Holocaust, or has this been going on since the Holocaust?
Well, they typically do the lobbing bombs back and forth, or somebody will, steal something, or
terrorist attack
or something like that.
Yeah.
This time when they went in, they actually had they paraglided in.
They came sea, air, and land, and they basically infiltrated Israel, and they slaughtered 1,500 Israeli citizens.
Well, who is Hamas?
They're a terrorist organization.
Terrorist organization that is basically the government of Gaza.
Oh.
Yeah, they're like the government. But it's a government that does absolutely nothing for its people. The only thing that they've been doing, they said that they will dig up the pipes, the water pipes, out of the ground and use those to make rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very resourceful, and they're getting funding from somewhere. A lot of people would say Iran, which there is proof that Iran has been funding Hamas.
Well, Israel gives aid to Gaza.
Right.
And the only problem is Hamas confiscates the aid that they give, like building materials, for instance. They use that to build the tunnels that they use to go underground and hide and house themselves, if you will.
Hide behind the human shields.
The Hamas terrorists. They're basically just, they have a population of 2 million people that they use as human shields to protect them. To keep Israel from going in and taking them out, that organization, So it's a very tough situation. Half of the population are children. And so the main reason that we wanted to bring this up is because of what is happening here in America. There's a whole lot of protests going on both sides. People saying, Israel is a great Satan. They're doing all these things to the Palestinian people over in the Gaza Strip. And then there's the people that say, kill all of the Muslims and turn that place into glass, with bombs. And both of those are wrong. So let's take a second, gentlemen, and let's just list out what our principles are as far as this particular conflict is concerned. I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
I hate terrorism.
Yeah. I would say the Israeli government is pretty horrible right now.
Netanyahu sucks.
Yeah. He's like a Trump incarnate over in the Middle East.
Yeah, he's under indictment, and he's basically going to disband the Supreme Court over there to keep them from finding out just how corrupt he is. Kind of like old Benedict Donald over here.
Yeah, and kind of like Bush as well over here. Apparently, he had a whole ton of intelligence that this attack was going to happen. But him knowing that he's under all these indictments, they saying maybe he kind of turned a blind eye because, when your country gets attacked and you're at war, it's less likely that you'll be voted out. So hence Bush's second term. same thing. Netanyahu's trying to fight to stay in. So it's like just amazing that, on a holiday, they were able to put on that scale of an attack. And then it was like 6 hours before help arrived to, beat them back and drive them out.
Yeah, caught flat-footed.
Well, I thought Israel had a top-notch military.
They
like
do.
The United States.
They do.
That's the problem. That's where the speculation is coming from. And this is pure speculation, y'all. We don't know what's going on in Netanyahu's head. But the idea is, with that capability of an army, and their intelligence services, there's no way they should have been caught flat-footed with that type of attack. The citizens over there are furious about that. Something like 90% of the Israelis are totally disgusted with Netanyahu and his lack of preparation for this attack. It was just horrendous.
Right.
Yeah, something smells fishy, certainly.
In Denmark and in Israel.
Yeah.
But another principle of mine, civilians should never be harmed by a war situation.
Yeah.
It's a war crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a war crime. And I know Israel is really mad and they really want to get back at Hamas. They want to eradicate them completely. But there are civilians getting caught in the crossfire. It's been documented. And, it's even been a couple of bombs that Hamas was trying to lob to Israel that fell and hit near hospitals, and they tried to blame it on Israel. But, turns out, through intelligence, they were able to determine that no, Israel didn't fire that rocket at the hospital, but Hamas was all blown up like, yeah, they're shooting at our hospitals. But, it's like civilians are going to get caught up in it.
So civilians are being killed by Israel?
By Israel and by Hamas.
Well,
Yeah.
What I know about being a veteran, there's rules to war, and you have the Geneva Convention.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's breaking the rules of war, which Hamas, they're terrorists.
Right.
So they don't
follow the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
But for Israel,
Yeah.
that's what I'm like, wow, that's
yeah, I just don't want them to push it so far that, the whole world turns against them and their allies, which would be us. Because we would have to step up to defend them if, Iran decides to go in and stop them from killing all the civilians and everybody in Palestine, or in Gaza. So I don't know. It's a very touchy, crazy situation.
So why are we? I heard something today that was saying that they was trying to call for a ceasefire.
Yeah. So
and the United States is against the ceasefire.
Well, so it's more so.
What is our interest?
Okay. The first thing is this: we as the United States have to take the position that Israel can do what they feel necessary to defend themselves. They're obviously exposed for attack based on what happened on the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't expect them to do nothing. They have every right to go out and take out the individuals or the organizations that caused that 1,400, 1,500 people to die in their land, and the people that are holding their hostages now. So our stance is, we are asking them to take every precaution that they possibly can to avoid civilian casualties, and up to a ceasefire. Now, we can't demand that they do a ceasefire, but if they did a ceasefire, we surely wouldn't be mad.
Yeah, and we would certainly start ushering in humanitarian aid to the Gazan people.
Yes. So, but this is a messy situation. But just in a nutshell, this is the type of thing that happens when you have bad government. Bad government matters. Ask a Gazan. Hamas is a bad government. Netanyahu is a bad government. And the result is chaos. And that's just what we're looking at right now, unfortunately. It's very, very convoluted, and there's no easy solutions at all. We got to see how this thing plays out. And I'm not going to sit up here and point fingers at anybody and say this group is going too far or whatever. I can't dictate how anybody should handle this type of situation. I just hope that Netanyahu smartens up. I hope he listens to his allies, and I hope that they put humanitarian aid first.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because What if we were in that position?
Yeah, think about it. Mexico
If
flew in here and killed. The equivalence would be like 100,000 Americans.
right, so like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
What if?
Well,
You know, what if during 9/11 our allies came out and said, ceasefire after, you know what I'm saying?
They did, and guess what we
And
did?
we went on and did what we had to do.
yeah.
So I mean, if you're looking at Israel's point of view, you know,
absolutely.
yeah,
and lots of civilians got caught up in the crossfire in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of them died.
And
theirs.
Iraq had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11 whatsoever. That was just a war of.
They went after somebody who didn't even claim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Biden actually came out and said one of his initial responses when he went to that war zone. He was the first president in United States history to go to a war zone in Israel. Mm-hmm. And he says, hey, don't do like we did and make pitiful decisions after 9/11 happened for the sake of revenge.
Okay.
And that's the idea.
Yeah, Joe Biden was against going into Iraq from the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. He voted to give authorization to the Bush administration to go to war. And Biden he said it was a big mistake, and he came out and apologized for it later. A lot of Democrats did.
Yeah.
It was a dumb idea. And, you know, I remember at the time, you know, people, I'd listen to certain talk shows, and people would call in and go off on the talk show hosts and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. We got to go into Iraq. You crazy. Well, after everything played out, the same people that were calling in, they call back in later and they act like they ain't even vote for George Bush in the first place. Yeah. You know, they just changed their mind all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, war is hell. War is ridiculous. It's sticky. Nobody wins. And the civilians pay the price.
Money.
And money plays a role as well.
Yeah.
Big role.
Yeah, because somebody's going to have to come in afterwards and clean it up like Halliburton.
Yeah, buddy. So anyway, that's as deep as we're gonna get, you know.
Yeah.
And Americans, there should be no Americans over here hurting any other Americans because of the situation over there.
Right.
That's just dumb. It's not gonna benefit anybody. The only thing it's gonna do is make us look bad on the world stage, hurt and harm individuals, and the people that do commit those acts, they're going to jail.
Oh, they certainly need to.
But you know, when people are doing crazy stuff like that over their religious beliefs, you know, it's a total different ball game.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it.
It's not like they fighting over a few dollars. They actually, their religious belief got them doing retarded stuff.
Yes.
And that's what the problem is.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I heard this saying yesterday from somebody high up in politics that said, when you mix religion with government, you get chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it should be. But the thing is, no country is homogeneous in terms of religion. So if you're running a government based on religion, then you're basically discriminating against somebody. Somebody is not going to.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
somebody left out.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt.
All right, and now, so our response to this is whether we're going to give aid to Israel or not, and of course, whether we're going to continue giving aid to Ukraine. Biden administration is wanting to couple the aid to Israel with the aid to Ukraine so that both situations are covered for. The Republicans in the House now are deciding whether they want to give aid to Israel at all, and they're leaning towards not giving aid to Ukraine anymore. And so they had a hearing. And they've been speaking on the floor about it for a while. What the Republicans did, they had a bright idea. They're so brilliant over there on that side. They decided to say, in order for us to give $14 billion to Israel, we need to subtract $14 billion from the IRS.
Yeah, the Internal Revenue Service. Yeah,
that's what they did.
Yeah, they want to cut off the funding to be able to go after the rich people. To get to do the audits so that they can get way more money back out of that doing the audits. But instead, they want to cut that funding so that you can't audit them anymore. They get to keep their money. No money's going to be coming in. And then y'all can use that money to send to Israel.
The problem with that is if you take $14 billion from the IRS for auditing purposes, then you're going to increase our deficit because that's less money that we're going to get back from those audits.
So, well, how is that going to affect us as American people as far as income tax? Is that going to affect anything?
Well, the thing is, I can show you this chart here. The amount of money, the amount of audits have gone down because the amount of money has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if we're not auditing at a high rate, here, I'm gonna just let this guy explain it to you. I'll let Elizabeth Warren explain it to everybody. I ain't got to that yet.
Yeah, I need to see what's going on here.
Let the wealthiest tax cheats get away free. And we just can't let that happen. The best estimate from the IRS is that for every dollar spent on going after those wealthy tax cheats, the American public gets about $6 back in money collected. I don't know many places where you can get that kind of 6-to-1 ratio, but my view is we need to make the wealthy tax cheats pay their fair share. And we need the Republicans to come with us on a serious plan for the funding that needs to be done in the supplemental bill.
Is she right? Is that true?
Back in 2010, if you were in the upper income, the $10 million or more, you had over a 20% chance of getting audited. Today, that chance of getting audited is under 5%. And you can see that the other curves for lower incomes have gone down also, but it's gone down the most for the wealthy. Why has it gone down the most for the wealthy? Because it costs the most to audit them.
Right.
And as we'll see, the IRS has been short of funds, and so they've cut back on auditing the wealthy, which obviously produces even less revenue. So to Joe's point, let's talk about what the IRS gets back. For every dollar the IRS spends auditing somebody in the top 0.1%, that's $9 million of income roughly a year, the IRS gets back $6.30. So $1 of spending yields $6.30 of revenue, a bit less for the top 1%. And then when you get down to the bottom 50%, actually the IRS loses a little bit of money auditing those folks. But for the reasons I said, because it is so time intensive to audit the wealthy, they tend to cut back on those audits the most when they have budget issues.
So if you audit the wealthiest Americans and paying for it by cutting
Stop
the
it there.
amount that we invest.
So you get where we're coming from. There's another thing that I wanted to point out to put a little bit more meat on this bone. Where is it? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna just skip over to here. We get a congressman's take on the Republicans' logic. So, in a nutshell, you cut money for audits, and we're not talking about auditing people in the bottom 50%. We're talking about auditing people in the
rich folk.
Yeah,
That's
the ones that are getting away with the biggest amount of cheating.
He said the top 0.1%, 0.1%, like 1/10 of a percent.
You spend $1, you get $6 back. That's where we want to be spending our money. That's the way. That's where you spend your money. You don't spend your money where you're gonna lose. You spend your money where you're gonna gain. So, and at the same time, let's face it, rich people get away with you pay a higher tax rate than a rich person does, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Trump had when he was in office, what was that, $700 in taxes or something like that?
$750 is what he paid. That was like
for a whole year
on the high end.
$750.
Yeah.
3844 561-270-3844.
Republicans are leveraging the excruciating pain of an international crisis to help rich people who cheat on their taxes and big corporations who regularly dodge their taxes. I mean, are you kidding me?
No.
I mean, the fact of the matter is the richest people in this country pay less in taxes than teachers, than police officers, than firefighters, than nurses, than laborers. I mean, this is what this is all about. Who came up with this brilliant idea to help rich tax cheats? Who came up with that idea? Was that hatched at a fundraiser in Mar-a-Lago? Did some big donor come up and twist somebody's arm and say, you got to do this, you got to protect us, we want to continue to cheat on our taxes so we can make more, keep more money? I mean, this is truly despicable. And here's what I love. The bill's so-called offset, cuts $14.3 billion from the IRS, which will further increase the deficit. Basically, they want to cut funding from those who are responsible for holding big corporations accountable, for going after rich tax cheats.
Yeah.
That's their offset. And according to CBO, it will add to the deficit.
What a great
Let me
plan.
repeat that. This bill adds $12.5 billion to the deficit. Their offset actually needs an offset.
So there you have it.
They want to cheat and then hurt the little people.
Right. And they're using the Israeli conflict as leverage to let rich tax cheats off the hook. That's their plan. This is just one microcosm of how the Republicans approach governing. Everything that they do. I challenge anybody out there. Tell me one thing that the Republicans have done in the last 50 years that they've brought up, voted on, and been signed by a Republican president that helps the middle to lower class. Name one.
Anything. Yeah, you can Google it. I've tried. I've been looking real hard, high and low. I found a couple of bipartisan things.
Well, they named that post office that one time.
Yeah, they did name it.
And it was a snappy little name, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But everything else that they do benefits big business, corporations, and all of that.
Yeah,
tax cuts for rich
Rosa
people.
Parks, post office, or something like that.
So yeah, so that's pretty much. Listen, we need to be smart about the way we govern. Bad governing hurts regular, ordinary people, whether they realize it or not. It's going to show up at their doorstep. Vote the right way. You don't want to vote for people who are just looking out for rich folks. That's not going to help you in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
All right. Well, it's been wonderful, my people. Thank you, Tito.
Appreciate
putting
it,
up,
Tito.
man. We got you on deck.
Yes, sir.
God dang.
Get your KQ t-shirt today, $20.
Yes,
Bust it.
sir.
Yeah. All right. Good
Peace out,
evening.
y'all.